Hey everybody, it's Marie. I'm going to redo my video that I posted yesterday with the two bracelets. I did not realize that a whole chunk of the video had somehow magically disappeared. And I'm guessing I did something during my editing process and uploading, and I deleted a whole chunk of it. Not surprising. I have the worst videoing skills, and my editing skills are even worse. So I just decided that I'm just going to reshoot the whole video, and I'll just take the other one down afterwards. And I do apologize, and I want to thank Gloria for pointing it out to me, because I would not have known otherwise. I don't watch my videos once they've been put up. I watch them after I film them, and then I do whatever I need to do, tweaking it and taking out, whatever. And clearly I took out a whole chunk. So, yeah. So anyway, I'm just going to reshoot the whole entire video. And hopefully it will come out a little better. It will be a little clearer. And it will contain all the information we need. So I was working on this bracelet. So I'm just going to finish it up with you guys. It is made with little separate links that are linked together. I am using the 8mm Malaysian jade beads that we got in the box. I have a couple more here so I can do a couple links with you and finish this bracelet off. I am using 20 gauge wire and silver. I'm going to cut these at about 2 1/4 inches long. This will depend on what size bead you're using. I'm using, like I said, an 8mm. If you were using a 10mm, you'd want a little more. 6mm, a little less. Use your discretion. You can go, you can go a little over and then cut off more. It's certainly not going to hurt. It's better to have too much wire and cut off some than to not have enough and not be able to finish your piece, because then you've wasted that piece of wire anyway. So I have 2 pieces cut here. I have my 2 beads. I have all kinds of crap all over my desk. I do apologize. My cats like to lay here and watch the birds in the window. So anyway, we are going to use our 6-step bail making pliers or something equivalent to that. I'm using the largest bail here for these 8mm beads. I have this marker pen that is very similar in size. I could use that if I needed to, if I didn't have my bail making pliers. If I was going to use a 10mm bead, I might use a Sharpie marker. If I was going to use a 6mm bead, I'd probably go down to the other bail here or find something like a dowel equivalent to that. So anyway, point being, you can use whatever you have around your house. You just want to make sure that your ring is wide enough to give your bead room to move in there. So anyway, there is that. Apologize for the noise. My cats are playing inside of an Amazon box right at the moment, and they're digging and scratching at the sides with each other. I'm sure you can hear that in the background. Let me see what else. Excuse me. You're going to need 2 jump rings to finish it off, and a lobster or a toggle if that's what you choose to use. If you're using a toggle, you might want an extra jump ring so that you have enough room with your bar piece to give you a little flexibility. I'm going to use 13 beads because that's about the right size for my wrist. Again, depending on what size wrist you have, adding in your hardware, you're going to want to determine that yourself. I found 13 to be just right for my wrist. I don't want it tight. I want it to be kind of free floating. And yeah, I think that's about everything. So let's slide this up here out of the way, and we'll make a couple of links to get started. So like I said, I'm going to use the biggest bail on my bail making pliers. I'm going to put my wire in, try to center it as best I can, bend my pieces up over. These ones, they actually came out real even, but if they had not, you can adjust that. I'll show you on the next one how to do that. So once you get them up there, and then you just start crisscrossing them, bring it down. You're going to want to bring it right down flat. Give it a good little push so it flattens out, because you want a complete ring, just like this. bring in your pliers. What did I do with them? And you're going to want to grab one wire right where they cross and just stand it up straight. Okay? Turn it around. Grab your second wire right where the other one is bent up and bend that one up. Oops. It'd help if I actually had it. Bend that one up. Okay, so we have this. And you can bring those back in a little bit. So they're a little closer together. You can also just bring them in a little bit by doing this. Let's get this one straightened back up where it belongs. Alright, so we have basically a little cotter pin looking thing. Alright, now at this point, I generally want these tails to be cut starting at that cross section right there, right at where they're both bent out. I like to go just a little less than a ½ inch. So I'm probably 1/8 of an inch less than a ½ inch. I'm not going to measure it every time. I'm going to eyeball it, so, you know, close is going to work for you. And then I'm going to take my bail making pliers again, and with the smallest bail, I'm going to take the end and just keep rounding it all the way around. So when I take it off, I have this. I did bend down a little bit. I want it to stand straighter. Let's straighten that back out just a tad. Okay, this is what I have. They're not completely closed. I can come in and close them a little tighter, but it doesn't really matter. I'm going to be opening them back up again anyway, and I can close them tighter then. But let's just get that in there a little bit more. Okay, so there is our first one. And let's do one more. Excuse me, I have morning yuckies going on. So let's say we bent these ones up, and you can see this one's got one side way longer than the other. So I'm going to take this one and bring it out. Actually, I'm going to bring out the short one, bring in the long one, and that ends up bringing them pretty close. Okay? Just like this. So at this point, I want to bring them together again, just like the other one. Start them crossing and make that circle. And then once again, I'm going to come in with my pliers, grab that wire, bend it straight up, come in with the other one. I am going to grab it right where the other one is standing. It's hard to see, but right where the other one stands. And bend that one straight up. Just like that. Okay. Now at this point, I'm not going to measure. If you needed to measure, please do. But I've done enough of these now that I can generally just eyeball it and get it somewhere near accurate. Sorry about that. Bumping the camera there. Alright. So again, just grab my ends. And just roll them back. Okay. So now we have 2 of these. This one came out a little better than the first one, but that's okay. It will straighten up. Alright, so we have our 2 rings. We have our 2 beads. Now we're going to bring in our 26 gauge wire. And I'm going to try to find the end of it. And I'm going to pull off 2 pieces, 3 to 4 inches long. You know, last time I measured them out, I think they came up to about 3 inches. But anyway, some 3 to 4 inches is good. Just want enough to work with without running out. No idea what they're getting into now, but they're definitely into something. Okay. Take your ring, put your wire through it so that your loops are pointing down. So that's the back side. Bend your wire around. Okay, and then you're going to come up through and wrap again, come up through and wrap again. You're going to do this a total of, I do it a total of 5 times. You can do it as many as you want. You can do 2, you can do 8, you can do the whole entire ring if you wanted to. So then after I've done my 5, I'm just going to bring it to the back. Excuse me. Like this. I'm going to flip it over so that the back side is facing up. And I'm going to go in with this little tail piece that we started with. And I'm just going to flush cut the, ooh, now to get it. Flush cut that off. And tuck it. Okay. You can see my loops are way up here. They will float around on you while you're working. They'll end up in the right place when you're done. Don't worry about that. Alright, feed your bead on. Remember, you're working from the back side. So your bead should be coming in from the back. And then you pop it into place. And then you're going to work at the end of this time when you're wiring. You're not going to be able to go through these loops anymore. So you're going to have to feed through this ring. Okay. So feed your wire through. Gently so as not to kink it. Until you're all the way around. And you've got your first ring, first loop. Okay? You do want it to be tight, but you don't want to pull so tight that you would distort your frame. So there was 1. Use your tools if you need to. 2. I'm going to push those together. And there's 3. And as you get a few on there, it starts holding better for you. 4. And my 5th one. There we go. And we have 5 wrapped around this one. I'm going to scrunch those together best I can. Now this piece I want to pull back towards my bead from the back side so I can get in there with my flush cutters and cut it down inside that ring, between the ring and the bead. best I can. So my little end is kind of tucked. You don't want scratchy pieces on your wrist. Okay, that one didn't go down inside as much as I'd have liked, but it's pointing out to the other side, so it's not actually on the back, so that's fine. And then we have one ring completed, so I'll just put that with the rest. Grab my other wire so I can do another one with you. Same thing, put my tail through so I have something to hang on to. Put in my wraps, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Maybe. Alright. Again, lift that tail up enough so they can get in there and flush cut it. Dog is coming into the room. Alright. Tuck that tail in. Give it a little smush. Alright, so now we have our wraps, we have our wire pointing out across the bottom to the opposite side, and we're going to put on another bead. And then when we turn it over so that the loops are pointing down and our bead is in and our wire's on the underside, we will start wrapping this one. Once you get that first wrap in, everything starts to hold together so much better. So that's one. I do like to try to scrunch them together as I work. If you leave too much of a gap, then when you get ready to scrunch them together at the end, you'll have loose places. And if you need to use your pliers, feel free. I do sometimes, not always. Depends on how my fingers are cooperating. Like right now it's morning and they're working pretty good, but by the end of the day I would be fumbling big time. Cat and dog are laying together over here and the cat is purring away. Okay, so this is number 5. Give them a little scrunch. Okay. Bring that wire back towards the bead again. Get in there with my flush cutters and trim that off. Give that a little tuck. And there's another link already. So if you just sit and form all your rings, and then sit and wire all your rings, and then you can just sit and connect all your rings. It's like a little assembly line process. Okay, so the part that got cut out is this part right here, the assembly. Excuse me, I had to take a drink of my coffee. So the assembly part is holding your ring out. You're going to grab just one and open it by twisting towards you. You're going to take your other link, drop it down over that, close it back. I find it very, very difficult to do both rings at the same time. This is so much easier doing it this way. So then I'm going to go in and get the other one. And I'm going to bring this up over and attach it. And then I'm going to bring this one in shut. And then once they're shut, I just like to take my pliers and get in there and make sure everything is still where it belongs. Squish it back together. You know, bring them back in. Like that. You can see how they're all linking. And so let's do this last one. I put that one on upside down, so I have to redo that one. Watch out for that. But again, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to unhook it by, again, doing one at a time. I have undone these so many times now that my loops are starting to look really bad, but because I have to re-record. Okay, now let's make sure I put these on the right direction this time so that my loop is facing down. I had one ring with the loops pointing up instead of down. All right. Bring that one down over. Get it in there. Whoops, I almost had it. What am I doing wrong? I think I did it upside down again. Wow. Let's try that again. These loops are so messed up now. Okay. I want to make sure when I close it, it's going in the right direction. And now we're going to go over to the other side and do the other one. Up and over. Close that one up. Make sure the other one is closed completely as well. Give them a little squeeze, bring them back in. Now they've been opened and closed so many times, they probably don't want to, but we'll get what we can out of it. What's the matter, baby? Okay. Doesn't look too beat up. But anyway, that's what we're going to do. Now we'll add on this other link, now that we've got this one pointing in the right direction. Alright. Let's make sure we're doing it correctly. Yes, that looks right. Open up the other side. And bring that one into place. Swing that one shut. Alright. And then we have that one on. Let's go in between the two beads. Squinch it back together again. Go to the back side, scrunch them back together again. Perfect. Okay. Now we have 13 links on here. That is a completed bracelet, my size. Okay. So at this end where the two rings are, to add my clasp enclosure, I am going to just open a jump ring and feed it through. If I was using a toggle, I would want an extra jump ring. I would want to add two, stacked like a chain, to give that toggle bar enough room to move, to finagle it through a toggle. And I need to move a cat. Okay, so that's all I'm going to do on this end. So now I'm going to turn it around to this end. I'm going to take another jump ring. And if I was using a toggle, I would be attaching my toggle right here with a jump ring, but I'm not. I'm using a lobster. So I'm just going to attach that with the jump ring. And I'm just going right around that frame. Okay. And close that one up. And now my bracelet is complete. So now all I gotta do is open my jump ring and close my clasp. And my bracelet is complete with a lobster. So there's that one. Okay, so hopefully that explains it a whole lot better than the other tutorial where a whole section of attaching things disappeared. Poof, gone, just like magic. Or just like a Shaw-Marie video. Okay, so the next bracelet was the one made with these purple beads, toggle, and beading wire. So I have some beading wire. I'm going to pull off about a foot, 2 feet, 2 feet total, because I need 2 strands. And I'm going to take my 2 ends and I'm going to put them together just like this and put a crimp bead right down over both wires. Sometimes it's hard to get them both and you end up having to do one at a time. Oh, that time I think I got them both. And you end up having to do each wire individually, pushing it through, but I got lucky. Alright, so we're going to squish that on. Put on a second bead. Maybe. Right down over it like that. And again, squish. And again, get rid of a cat. The blue jays are out at the bird feeder and they want to get up on the window here and watch them. So I'm going to go to the other end of my wire now. Take my 2 ends. And at this point, I want to feed on my clamshell down over, there we go, that's right there, down over these 2 ends. Let's see if I can get them both in there, if I have to do them individually. I might have to do them individually, doesn't get a little bit of a bend in the end of it. Ooh, I think I might have it. If I could just hold on to things. There we go. Get down over both wires, pull them to the end. Try not to kink it, which I just did. Not even sure which one kinked. That's alright, just pull it back and it'll straighten itself out. Okay. We're going to close our clamshell right over it. And then at this point we're going to have these 2 wires coming out of a clamshell. So for here, I'm going to again take my 2 ends and just like I did with the crimp beads and the clamshell, I'm going to put 1 silver bead over both wires. And again, I may end up having to do them individually. I can't get it in there. There we go. Every time I say that, then it works. pull that down to the end like this. And then here I'm going to separate my 2 wires out. And I'm going to put 2 silver beads on one wire and 2 silver beads on the second wire. Push those down. And now I've got this little triangular piece. From there, I'm going to take my 2 wires and one of my purple beads. I'm going to feed my purple bead on one wire. And then the side of that bead where it's exiting, I'm going to take my other wire and put it through the opposite way. So I have this. And I'm going to pull that into place just by pulling those wires until I get up close. And then it will take a little bit of finagling to lay them into place. This is what you want, okay? And then I just bend my wires around the bead a little bit just to give them a crimp because it helps to hold them in place a little bit better. And then moving back down to the end of the wire again, we're going to feed on 1 bead on each one. 1 bead on this one, 1 bead on this one. Move them down. So we have this. And once again, we will put on another purple bead, crisscross through it with our wires. And this is just tiger tail. I don't know if I mentioned that or not, but just using tiger tail. Pull it all into place. Once you get everything where it belongs, again, bend that wire over the bead to help form it back into the downward shape that you want. And once again, we're going to put on 1 bead on each wire. Push those down. Push those down. Take another purple bead. So this is the repetition right here. This is it. That's all there is. 2 silver beads, crisscross purple bead. 2 silver beads, crisscross purple beads. You're going to do that to the length of bracelet that you want. I want mine to finish out with toggle and the other end here. I want mine to finish out between 7 and 7.5 inches. So I'm going to bead up from the end here, starting with my little clamshell, to about 6 inches beading, and then I'm going to finish it off with another one of these little V's, which is going to take up close to a little, maybe even a little over a 1/2 inch, and then our toggle. So that's going to finish it out around 7 to 7.5 inches. So if you need bigger, add another bead. If you need smaller, take a bead away. So that your length will depend on what you want. Just figure in about 1 inch to 1.5 inches less from this end to your last bead for your length of bracelet. Say your bracelet is going to be 7 inches. Finish this up from here to here at about 5.5 inches, somewhere in that range. If your bracelet is going to be a 6-inch bracelet, finish it up between 4.5 and 5 inches. So yeah, just kind of, you just have to kind of play with it. And of course, beads are going to be different sized. So even though you get close to, like, I'm going to get close to 6.5 inches, I think, but it could come out more under 6.5 and closer to 6. It all depends on my size of my bead, but that's fine. It'll work out just fine. So I'm going to finish beading this up, and I will return to show you my finished product. Okay, so I have on my last purple bead. I have my band. I have a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 beads. And it measures out at, excuse me, measures out at about 6 inches. Okay. Now I'm going to add in more silver beads to form the other little triangle at the other end. So I'm going to put on 2 silver beads on this side. You will see a cat's tail twitching back and forth from time to time because he's sitting beside me looking out the window, watching the chickadees. There's 2 on that end. Oops, back here. 2 on this one. Well, not yet, will be. 2 on that one. So now I have 2 on either side. Okay, so we're going to go back to being 2 wires through 1 bead. To help form that triangle at the other end. And then from this point, I'm going to put on another clamshell. I'm going to open it up so I can get my pliers in there. And I'm going to put it on from the back side this time. So my cup is pointing out. Down over both wires. I think I have both wires. And push that down. And then again with the crimp beads. I'm going to put on 1. And Jinx, that's not where you belong. That is not where you belong. Okay, so I've got the 1 crimp bead on there right now, all the way down to my, well, I thought I did. Where did it go? Oh, it's way up here. It didn't slide. All the way down to my clamshell. And I'm just going to bring it down into the clamshell and give it a squeeze. Grab another one. This one looks, something wrong with this one. Well, it's 2 of them hooked together, it looks like. I'm not sure what's going on with that one. I don't think it's any good, so we'll get another one. Whoops. I'm sorry. Alright, so we put it on 1 wire, down over the second wire, and bring it all the way down to the other crimp. Squeeze that one as well. Trim that off. And close this clamshell up. And the bracelet portion is all finished. And it's real pretty. Sparkling, that is amazing. And I've got enough room right here at the back for my closure. So I'm going I'm going to use a toggle on it. And I have this cute little flower one. This bracelet looks more spring to me than it does winter, so I think the little flower will be cute with it. I have cat hair all over me, thank you, Jinx. So I'm just going to take my jump ring. And because this comes to a point like this, it gives this toggle enough room for work, so I don't need to add an extra jump ring. You can if you want to. Please, it also gives you a space to add extra length to your bracelet should you need to. But I'm just going to put a toggle on one end with a jump ring, and I'm going to put the open end on the other end with the jump ring. I'm going to try to. Close that up good. And it's done. And there's the second bracelet. So, bracelet number 1, or bracelet number 2, I should say, and bracelet number 1. All completed. Alright, so I'm going to get these back up on a form, show them to you guys, and call it a day. Here they are all finished. Please excuse my jungle in the background. Thank you guys for joining me. I do appreciate it. Thank you again for letting me know that there was an error with this video so I could re-record it for you. Yeah, and other than that, guys, have a wonderful day. I will be posting soon my December bargain bead box show and tell, and then I'll get started on my January box. Yay! All right, bye guys.